Okay. All right. We're 17 minutes late. No improvement from last week, but I was sitting here ready to go.
Oh, no, it's mine.
Now it's the production staff's fault. So that's all right. Her. Huh? I need a couch, yes.
You'll be sleeping there for a couple days.
I do have a big
We have
couch.
a lot of good cat bed.
Yes, we do have a cat bed. What is the live stream thing posted 3 days ago? Is that all right? We can go past. Now, I would like to say congratulations to Jerry Tussaud, council member Jerry Tussaud, because tomorrow is his 67th wedding anniversary.
Wow.
Holy cow. It is incredible, number one, and it really is a testament to, it really is. It's exciting. I guess at a different number, but I'm like, it's an impressive number. So
It is impressive. Amazing.
You'll be excused to go home to
yes,
the mall shopping.
yes, because he's not supposed to be here. He's supposed to be with her, and but he may be shopping. So I hope his wife is not watching. So. But thank you for coming, Jerry. Congratulations on everything, and our hearts are with you. So y'all have a good day tomorrow. A lot of exciting things going on. This has been one. I mean, literally last night we finished. We've got a special called meeting for the GCRP. Just do some business items next Monday evening. Just no speakers, just business, knock some things out. And we had a preview meeting Q&A last night, Zoom call, and then we have one on Saturday at 10 that we'll do. If anybody's got any questions, we like to discuss business before we get into the business meeting, so anybody can ask any questions, so there's no confusion. We didn't do that at the last meeting, but we're definitely doing it at this meeting, and give people the opportunity to ask questions. And I was literally going to start with those 5 items and kind of go through them, and kind of had our routine for that. And so much changed literally in the past 12 hours. It's like, it's almost incredible. So I will make the big comment. I think some people have brought it up here. The Supreme Court voted down the Trump tariffs. Voted it down. It came out this morning 6-3. Now that, to me, that was expected. I know there's been questions and stuff. The lesson learned here is where there's a will, there's a way. They can work around, figure out with Congress, whatever they got to do. Obviously, they've been very effective and worked. Maybe they were taking a chance about it, and you need the Supreme Court to rule all this stuff. And I'm happy they at least challenged it, as opposed to say, oh, it's illegal or it's not constitutional, or we're not in the law. We're just not even going to try it. At least they tried it. We found out from the Supreme Court that there's issues with it. So now you go back and fix it so we can do what they're trying to do and get it taken care of. That's okay. But I will tell you, from my perspective, I've not read the documents. I will tell you the legal opinion, I think it's 170 pages. So, I mean, I don't know what routes they will have or suggestions they will have about what you can do, but 170 pages is a lot. Maybe not. Maybe everybody had different opinions and wanted to share their 2 cents, in that. May have been multiple opinions, but the docket production was 170 pages. But what I did personally, having not dug into the legal side of it, I looked on the betting odds. What do I tell y'all? We can look at polls and all that kind of stuff, but look at the betting odds. People put their money where their mouth is. The betting odds, you know what they were suggesting last week? 3-6.
Wow.
There was nothing. It was actually the ones of winning it, of 7 or 8-1 or what. It was like all 1%. So I mean, I knew there was like literally almost 0% chance that it was going to pass Supreme Court muster. So I'm just telling you, you can look at that type of stuff. There's a couple different things that are out there. Can't always trust them, because there is no, laws against insider trading. Say you knew it, and you knew how the opinion was going to come out. You might want to throw some money there. I don't know if there's laws against that. It's not like in pro baseball, pro football. You can't bet on your games and all that type of stuff, or with the stock market. But I find it very interesting that the betting odds were spot on. So, obviously those betting odds change and they move up and down, but they were definitely spot on. The other thing that happened in that kind of fits into our motif of talking about things is, I initially went on last night, and Olga showed it to me once we got home. There was a post. Mark Lynch was speaking in Marion County to the Marion County GOP. And I'd seen the ads for it. We know some folks that are down there, and this is right next to Horry County, Mullen, South Carolina, tobacco country. And there were some ads, come to our meeting. We got Mark Lynch speaking. Yada, yada. That's fine. That's all well and good. He should be doing that. But then I saw a post from somebody that had been there, who's a big Mark Lynch fan, and started accusing Paul Dans of not showing up. And I'm kind of like, I didn't know Paul Dans was supposed to be there. So I actually did reach out to those guys and ask the question, are you guys even supposed to be there? I haven't asked, the Marion County GOP folks. Maybe we should. But,
we didn't ask Marion GOP, but we found their announcement of their meeting.
Yes, no, I'd seen the announcement. And
the announcement said featured speaker Mark Lynch.
Right.
The announcement did not mention.
Right. You don't announce everybody in the race. You just announce who's coming. And there was no announcement that he was coming. So, there was no confirmation, in that respect, even from the party. So that should be enough. But then you see people sitting there saying, when heard Mark Lynch speak and Paul Dans didn't show up. And I just, because I'm out of curiosity, I'm like, let's ask the question and see where they're supposed to go. Well, their campaign person responded back to me and said, no, we weren't on the schedule and it was never confirmed and all that kind of stuff. And Paul Dans has been willing to go meet and speak with Mark Lynch wherever, but that's my beef about the misleading things. You see that, a candidate didn't show up, but it's like, aren't all guns supposed to be pointed at the incumbent? Aren't they supposed to be there? Why would you go after, your opponent, or another opponent as opposed to the incumbent? So to me, it's a very off mission statement and an off mission hit. And why do you do those types of things? Now, I know why they're doing it, because that's just what his campaign people and they do. And we can talk about those experiences, but it actually got much worse after that, because what happened, and Olga saw it this morning, there was a post from the Paul Dans campaign, that, and I think Olga can hopefully throw it up on the screen, where there was a text exchange between a gentleman by the name of, gentleman's probably too nice a word, Noel Frisch, who is the campaign manager for Mark Lynch. Now, we've experienced Noel in the past, because he represented Mark Burns back in the 2022 congressional race against William Timmons. It kind of told us, spread some not so nice and not so kind things about another, not Timmons, but against another candidate running against Timmons. I'm like, why are you trying to convince us that there were some nefarious things going on with this guy? Aren't you focusing on the incumbent? So and it was stuff that was clearly not true, but it was told to us, I hate to say privately, but it was to influence us into not liking that other candidate. And I'm like, this makes no sense. We looked into it. I'm willing to look into anything and hear anything, and I think we have that responsibility to do. But it was kind of like, why are you spreading dirt? And there's a lot of stuff that's fair and on the table, and but when you lie about things or mislead about things, or you don't have backup and proof, or here's something that's salacious that really makes no sense whatsoever, that frustrates me, because everything we do is we try to teach people, and I know politics is a tough, rough and tumble game, but I think the problem with this country is too many real Americans are misled on a day-to-day basis. Go watch CNN or MSNBC or MS Now. They're misleading people all day long. I don't like it when they do it. I don't like it when our side does it. I don't like seeing it in campaigns. And I like, last week we literally talked about that. We want our elected officials to be better, because if they will be better, we can get better turnout. People don't participate in politics because of all this nasty stuff. Well, it was one thing about accusing Mark Lynch or Paul Dans of not showing up, somebody unrelated to the campaign. I assume not related to the campaign, but this was a text thread, and I assume it's true. I haven't verified it, that it's real, but it was from Noel Frisch to somebody, and I don't know who the other person was, but it was a screenshot. And Olga's going to she did put it up there, but it was, where Noel Frisch is trying to find out where Paul Danz's kids go to school. And I'm like, you have got to be freaking kidding me. So, I mean, everybody knows Paul Dance has 4.9 kids. His wife's about as pregnant as you can get. But I'm like, it's kind of, he's got 3 daughters, a son, I think is the youngest. And then they've got number 5 on the way, but I'm like, why? Yeah, they're little kids. They're not,
you're talking little kids.
And I assume this is true, and I'll make that one caveat. But but for the dance campaign to post it out there, I assume they've got it from somewhere. But back on Saturday, August 9th, and it looks like this person, Noel is trying to get information, but he says need to know where his kids attend school.
Why?
Well, that is literally the question, and I don't know if this is a private investigator or somebody kind of digging up dirt or whatever, doing stuff on a there is some legitimate reason to do background research on people, but this individual, asked that question. He goes, "What?" This says why. It says so far there's nothing shady found about Dan's. Then the next statement was, "I'm not including his kids." So at least somebody has some sort of semblance of, we don't go after, young kids, children, number one, and number two, why at their school? I mean, who wants to find out, who's going to track that kind of stuff down, and that just, is very repulsive to me. And I should have added the third thing that after on Wednesday night, there was Wednesday night, Paul Dans and his wife were interviewed by Will Folks on this news. And I think Will has interviewed Mark Lynch. I'm not sure. Yeah. He talked about it. He's interviewing candidates live or whatnot, in their little studio, in Columbia, which is a good thing to do. Well, he's interviewed Mark Lynch, and he brought him up, and then he's interviewing Paul Dans, and I don't know if you know, but Paul Dan's wife, I guess he has made the statement that she's a ballerina. They met in New York City. You got to think, girls, Epstein, all this kind of stuff, Victoria's Secret. Well, there was an article put out by somebody who appears to be in support of Mark Lynch on some blog, some Substack, that is sitting there trying to tie Paul Dan's wife to Epstein. And obviously, and I know how politics kind of works. It's like, I don't know if this person independently came up with that conclusion themselves or were fed the information, but I'm like, and you know what the connection was? There was somebody.
To give you a little background that I've learned about.
It's none essentially, but.
Mary Helen.
Are you speaking the? Make sure you speak in there.
Mary Helen, who is Paul Dance's wife. She is a ballerina. She used to dance in New York City Ballet.
Oh.
She trained Natalie Portman for Black Swan movie. If you ever.
Well, she's the top of the top, right? So.
Currently, she's sitting on the board of the Trump
Kennedy Center. Not the Kennedy Center, the Trump Kennedy Center.
Okay. So she is connected in many ways. She knows a lot of people. If you're training Natalie Portman, you must know what you're doing, right? That's just how I see it.
Right.
I don't know the full career path, but what I've learned at some point, they started family. She left the dancing part, but she continued teaching people how to, dance, exercise. She has a business, online business currently that I think she does. You can purchase videos, exercise videos, right, from a ballerina. It's wonderful, actually. I've watched some of them. I would love to be in her shape and be able to do what she does. Anyway, it's amazing. So that's the backstory. She has business that you can subscribe to her videos for exercises, merchandise. I don't know.
Yeah. So apparently, this person or somebody either related to or in the files or dated us, I don't really know, bought one of the videos or bought a T-shirt, bought something. And it's kind of like, that's the connection, really? I mean, not that they were friends or went out or went partying, and then there's no implication of anything of that nature. She bought something from her business, so there's some connection to Epstein.
Well, Carol interviewed Paul Dance one morning this week.
Yes. How did that go?
That was great.
Really?
He's an MIT grad.
He is. I think he has 2 degrees from MIT too, if I'm not mistaken.
Another degree from another law school.
And then he went to UVA for law school, which UVA is one of the top law schools out there. So
They're probably concerned that his kids are probably going to a private school in Charleston.
I don't
know.
We don't
I don't
need to
know.
go publicly about the kids. They shared, they, talk about school choice and how one size does not fit all. They have 4 children and it will be hard to track who goes where. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want to be
I don't
disclosing things,
actually
but
don't care.
yeah, they're big fans of any education, whatever fits. They have children that benefit from public, private. Again, what works for them. So I wouldn't just make an assumption they're all in private school.
Yeah, but even if, what does it matter?
The Heritage Foundation.
Yes, he did. And he did the Project 2025 thing. So he was the director of that. So, I mean, and he worked in the Trump campaign or the Trump administration in the first term and for Ben Carson and whatever at HUD or the Office of Personnel Management. Did a lot of stuff, a lot of experience in DC who, from that perspective, you could hit the ground running and because what's going on up there. And I like fresh minds up there and people don't know what's going on. And I like people that kind of know what's going on. So, you're not on the job training for a couple of years too, but I mean, the fact that Noel and Noel is known as doing this. I mean, and if Olga can just put his name in there and hit search, there's an he lives in North Carolina now, but there's an article, I guess, from a paper in Mississippi where he came from. And it's like, oh, he's a people person like Darth Vader, So, and I mean, it's literally in the title. So, I mean, he is known as that type of a person, and it's not, because one of leaders in another county I was speaking to earlier today, kind of made the point, well, maybe that's, that's somebody from his campaign. You can't really taint him with it. I'm like, well, wait a second. Number one, he did this in Pastor Mark Burns' campaign in 22.
When I Google quickly his name, all I see is a defamation lawsuit that was filed in January of 2026.
Okay, well that's
Okay, so from Jennifer Karpovich.
And I don't know about that, but if you look at Carrollton or Caroline, it's a USA Today thing. It's like 2 or 3 down, but it literally has his name as a people person like Darth Vader. But you're hired if you hire people that are known to be that type of players, because I mean, y'all heard me complain over and over and over about the dirty politics that comes out of the Lynch campaign and his people. I mean, it's some of the nastiest stuff. We're having difficulties, but we're having our own little schisms, if you will, within the Greenville County Republican Party with people that support Mark Lynch versus us because, we laid it out there. Have him come talk. One of our people that was at the Spartan McGowan Monday tried to talk to Mark Lynch. I don't know if they want to talk about it here, but tried to talk to him, and he told them something that I had done, which is a bald-faced lie. And that's Mark telling the lie. I mean, there are hit pieces in 2 different political blogs that are funded. If you go look at them, one is local here, one is in Horry County. And if you look at the masthead at the top of the websites, what are they advertising? Jeff Lynch Appliance Center. Okay, I get it. You're advertising here in Greenville, South Carolina. And, maybe they just happen to be writing hit pieces, calling Jeff Davis and the Greenville GOP Nazis and all that kind of stuff, misleading about the court case, all this really nasty things. But, I mean, why are you advertising Jeff Lynch Appliance in Horry County, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina? Do you have a store down there? Are you going to save so much money that you should drive up from Horry County, from Myrtle Beach, to get a washing machine here in Greenville? No, he's paying them because they write nasty stuff, and it's widely known as, pay for play. If you write me a check, I'll write some nasty stuff about somebody you want to put a hit on. We don't react to a lot of it because, it's gotten to the point over these years that it's like Trump, it just rolls off and it's like, here's another stupid thing. I mean, and it's, it's not like, thankfully, it's not stuff I get in trouble as much for. And so it rolls off a lot easier than it does for Trump sometimes. But it's just kind of like, you've got to be kidding me. And it, and I've told a lot of people here kind of my journey into Christianity, into Jesus and all that kind of stuff, my story. And I am one of those people that was pushed away in the old days by knowing folks that claim to be, Christians and Christ-like and say one thing on a Sunday, but do the exact opposite on a Monday, and it drives me insane. But of Sunday afternoon, no, good point. But but I will tell you, and I'll give the 2 cents. That's great. That's a great line. I thought Sunday to Monday rhyme, but Sunday afternoon is more appropriate. But I mean, the one thing is as nasty and as horrible as our experience have been involved in politics, and eye-opening, quite frankly, and educational and learning wise, in the sense of understanding human nature and human, how humans operate. What I've also seen in our group are some people that really do believe in Christ and actually do live it and actually do believe it and actually do take the road less traveled and actually do, even when it's easy to get ahead and trash somebody or do something, they take the Christ-like path. They talk to them. They do those things. That is what is kind of brought it to me and inspired me. But then you see the politicians that are out there saying, "Oh, family, faith, and blah, Christ-like, and I'm going to do everything based on the Bible and the Constitution." And you're watching them and you're like, you got to be kidding me. Why are you lying to our person on a Monday? Why are you sitting there hiring a guy that is known to be Darth Vader-like? If you want to be the candidate that wants to go out there and slash and burn and go after people, knock yourself out. But you can't sit there and say, "Oh, we're going to run a clean Christian, kind of, I'm this kind of guy." So it's disturbing to me. I will tell you the Dan's campaign is made. Well, and how we noticed this is apparently last night, I don't know what time it was, Paul Dan's got apparently, I think that it was the final straw. And when you bring up the kids, it's kind of the final straw, because I think they had made a commitment. And I have not seen hit pieces from Paul Dan's against Mark Lynch. Obviously, Dan's has said all kinds of things against the incumbent, Lindsey Graham. Knock yourself out on that. But the circular firing squad, and what's the goal in the movement is to get it to a runoff, or if you can kind of do that type of stuff. How are you going to get it to a runoff? And I before I read their statement, that they put out, their public statement, which is a little charged, But I look at it, what would get my mother to vote for someone else or against the incumbent? And my mother, I'll be honest with you, she's kind of middle of the road. We have a lot of fun discussions. She does also think that Lindsey Graham has been here too long, and we need a change. And that's coming for somebody in the middle. So guess what? That's an opportunity. But is she going to vote for? How's she going to vote against Lindsey Graham? She believes that, we need change. You got one guy who's out there going after his opponent, the other opponent, and his kids, and making comments like this. Has got their staff bringing up, literally one of their people the other day. And there's all kinds of crazy stuff in the world. There's a whole lot. But my mother is never going to vote for Mark Lynch when, regardless of how even she knows what we deal with him. But, when his staff people around his advisors are sitting there making posts on social media that, there's all the satanic worship, which there may be, and they're supporting billionaires eating babies. It's not going to win my mother. She doesn't see that. She doesn't believe it. Ignorance is bliss. I wouldn't have believed it 20 years ago, before all this. There's stuff out there. So I'm not saying we can't look at that, but I'm like, if your campaign is out there talking about, eating babies and this and that.
It's not an issue that someone like my mother-in-law wants politicians to campaign on.
It's not, because remember, there's people on the right that understand things, waking up, red pill, black pill, whatever. Then there's people on the left. But really, you win an election by the people in the middle, getting them to see that you're at least, even if you believe the hard right stuff,
well, should go this way. Or I believe in a lot of the hard right stuff, but guess what? I will have a conversation with those people all day long to try to get them to understand why I feel that way, why I have those beliefs, and I try to win them to our side. It's not like, oh, well, the lazy way for politicians is to go to the middle and vote in the middle and do all that kind of, silly stuff. But I think if you're going to be a politician and run for elective office, you have a responsibility to be a leader and lead people in the right directions. And I will need that because that's what the statement is on my phone. So that's not going to get my mother to vote for somebody against Mark Lynch. Now, I don't know how against Lindsey Graham. I don't know how she'll feel about Paul Dans going after Mark Lynch, but it may actually get her to vote for Paul Dans because he's finally reached his limit. You go after his wife, number one, associated with Epstein, which literally you read the article and you're like, the headline was nice, clickbait, and you get into it and like, where is it? I don't see the connection.
This is the problem today. Everybody just makes these statements without receipts.
Well, their receipt was, in the Epstein files, there was something that showed a confirmation of the purchase. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And I think in the purchase, like we would say, if somebody donates to us, oh, you're a member of mySCGOP. We don't really have members. It's not like, you're a member of the Greenville County Republican Party. I guess we do have members, but the members are really the people that come to reorg, not technically somebody that comes in and pays $25 like somebody did yesterday, sign up as a member of the Greenville GOP. It's not like you come in and pay your $25. I mean, it's just, hey, you're a member of our, ballet, movement or whatever they were doing in selling their stuff.
My biggest fear is not that it's just connected to Epstein, that they're liberal. New York City, LA.
Yeah. Sure. Well, there's a lot of people that I had when I got out of grad school. I had the choice of going to Atlanta or New York, and I'm like, well, maybe I'll be safer in Atlanta. So I don't know, but New York there's a lot of expertise and a lot to learn up there and do that, and that's where a lot of people go. But let me read their campaign statement, which it's their statement. And this is the statement. Yeah. Yes, sir. Paul Danz's campaign.
Thank you.
And it says official from the Paul Dans campaign. Paul Dans will go to any meeting, event, debate, forum, roundtable, whatever, with little 4'11" Mark Lynch and his daddy's company or Lindsey Graham. It is. It's strong, but I feel I feel it. I understand. It is. It's not after. It's something. Our civility has limits and an expiration date. It is absolutely reprehensible to go after another man's wife and children. And make no mistake, Mark Lynch, unprovoked, went after Paul Dan's wife and children. That is unacceptable and absolutely not how we do things in South Carolina. Mark Lynch should drop out of this Senate race immediately. That's why I say it's stronger. It's stronger than I would use or advise. Well, and you're gonna hear that, and I think if you were a campaign consultant trying to figure out, what do you do? It does motivate some people. It will turn some people back a little bit.
That's okay.
But it's very powerful. It's very disturbing what Mark's campaign has done, and it's not the first time, and it's not the first person, and it's not that innocently somebody associated with our group just made some statements. That you got to figure out. But this is he hired the campaign guy. He knew who he was. We have been literally complaining about these lies and deceit and manipulation and all that kind of stuff for years about Mark Lynch. So, I don't like the strong enough of the language and the picking on that type of stuff, but, I feel his pain. What would I do if he was doing that? And maybe they are doing it to Olga and the such.
Well, it's got to be you got to give him. You got to give him some grace here because at some point in time, we get pushed to a point where we're tired of taking it.
Speaking to the mic.
We get tired of taking it. You got to
grab the mic.
I don't need it.
You need it because they need it.
Okay. My point is he's been taking garbage and garbage and garbage and just letting it roll. Eventually, at some point in time, you got to say, I'm done taking garbage. I got to stand up, or I'm not the man that you want me to be.
And that's what the statement says.
And that's what the statement says. He's point blank out there saying, I've had enough of this garbage going after my family and my children, especially his children. Now, if you can't, if
that dude wanted to know where my children were, what school, that there's a limit to it.
It's like not. I have grandchildren that I have custody of. You come after my grandchildren, you just unleashed a whole new monster. I don't play well when you start messing with children.
Especially these days, you really do not know the reasoning behind wanting to know where the kids go to school. Yeah. That's absolutely unacceptable.
Yeah.
If you're not going to protect your family, why would we think you protect our country?
That's right.
It's a good point. And
That's exactly what I heard that.
I'm comfortable with all the you can lay it on the thing. I'm comfortable with the nasty things they say about me, and sometimes I react to it, and sometimes and I'm not talking Lynch, I'm talking just in general.
We're comfortable. After so many years, your skin just grows
Yeah.
that much thicker.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I literally have a judge that thinks I can't tell you the hours I had to spend, getting all the documentation to satisfy a judge. And I emailed it to him yesterday at 4:50. A sworn affidavit from my treating physician, which even at my treating physician's office, they're like, we've never had anybody come in here and have to have a sworn affidavit and a notary public,
Because it's not HIPAA violation.
well, I hear this. It's a court, but we talked about, but there. I mean, why would a judge be sitting there debating whether I even had cancer and why I'm having chemotherapy treatment? I'm doing it for fun to keep out of court or do something
Doing it for the fun.
to get sympathy. Yes, I mean, so a judge says that because he's either reading things out there on his own because the other side has not filed anything or said anything in court. So how does the judge feel that? Or either the people out there saying things are saying things because the judge has written some orders that are like crazy or at this particular. And guess where the article showed up? The Times Examiner, the political blog here in town, advertising Jeff Lynch appliance. I'm like, it's kind of like, it's the funniest thing on the planet, Yes, ma'am.
They all have JDDS.
They do have Jeff Davis derangement syndrome. They do.
I'm serious.
They do. And people have Trump derangement syndrome, and they have a derangement syndrome against anybody that will challenge them. And I talked to a candidate in another race, this week, and I'm like, we challenge people on both sides. I mean, where we stand. We stand with Trump and that type of the people and all that stuff. But we'll challenge people on our side. And I'm like, we have to, because if we don't live up to, the standards that we're trying to set, all of this is a waste of time.
Yes.
And we're not cutting deals for things and to do bad things just to benefit short term from little stuff. I've always talked about we have to build what we're building on a foundation of bedrock, not a foundation of sand. If you're going to lie and manipulate and do these things, yes, ma'am.
I just want to say
Pass her the mic. I do want to hear what you have to say.
I can talk loud.
They can't hear you on here. That's the only thing.
Turn it on.
I can hear you. The problem is I can't hear on there.
Okay. On March 26th, there's supposed to be in Greenville, Greenville town, between Mark Lynch, this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Dance, but it's all sold out. So I don't know if you pay for it or what, but you can't get a ticket to go to it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how.
It's in a very small room. We looked at the pictures, like 50 seats. So yeah.
I literally heard for 1.5 hours Paul Dan speaking to Tucker Carlson.
Yes.
And my fear of him is he's mostly a northerner. And also I just get the feeling of being a rhino, some house and white, and the Agenda 25 that Trump repeatedly denied having anything to do with. He didn't know anything about it from the Heritage Foundation.
Mm-hmm. All that stuff's fair. I agree. I mean, you can have that debate and discussion.
Complicated. Yeah.
Yeah, that part's complicated. It is worth talking about.
Exactly.
Where his kids are located,
Yeah.
you know.
Are those the only two candidates against Lindsey?
Yes, there's 3
There's
candidates.
another one is a Democrat, and she's a
Well,
physician who
He's gonna win.
she needs to stay in her lane and stay in the medical field.
Actually,
Or else she's not
Hold
a
on.
good physician.
What do you got?
I found another one on Facebook. Someone sent to me.
Tom.
Horry County.
I don't know. Officially filing is not until March 15th, 16th through the 30th. So, I mean, we'll, you don't know until you know. But right now, that's the only 2 in the Republican primary. The Democrat doesn't, I don't think, really matters. Look at the betting odds. It's like the Republican will win in November, pretty high. But I mean, it upsets me. I hate that their family, their kids, their wife has to go through this type of stuff. But I think the positive is, people are gonna. You got to think about it. You got to reflect upon it. You got to think of, understand, and maybe very similar to Adam Morgan running against Timmons in 24. It was kind of like I'm glad Adam Morgan was going to run so more people could figure out who Adam was.
Exactly.
And I think what's happening now, more people are going to finding out who Mark Lynch is. Because don't just believe what do we teach? Don't just believe anything. Do your own research and dig into it. So, yes, Frank.
Ask her, did that debate, or is that the roundtable with Tara Servatius?
Yes, Tara Servatius is doing it.
Too is the Tara Servatius is supposedly the referee. How much money is Mark Lynch spending in advertisement on that radio station?
A lot.
Just something to think about.
She does.
Yeah. Yeah.
He knows that.
Yeah. And I don't know where Tara personally, whether she likes Dan, doesn't like. It does make people think. I mean, they're businesses. I mean, you got to consider that. They don't disclose like candidates, where all their money comes from, but you got to consider it. So.
But there should be another forum as well.
Well, I think they've appeared at several things. The young Greenville had something that they both spoke at. I mean, maybe it wasn't a round table or a forum kind of going back and forth. There's been plenty of them. I mean, they have appeared at many things together, where they've both been invited so people could hear from both of them. I mean, they both spoke at the gala on Monday, So, but why are you making a hit? You make a hit on the guy that doesn't show up. The sitting senator didn't show up. Okay, you can hit on him, hit on, and they hit a little low sometimes on that too. But Lindsey's a big boy, he can handle it. But I'm like, why are you shooting at the other person challenging? Is the mission about getting a new senator, or is the mission about promoting self? We talk about it all the time. And we've seen it in their school choice fight. We are fighting, for freedom for children and education and all those types of things. It's one thing to sit there and go against the Democrats and the teachers unions and the corrupt rhinos and all that kind of stuff. But then you got people that say they're fighting for the same thing, and they're putting hits on us. Literally. I mean, start find it. There's stuff out there that says Jeff and Olga are pushing the UN education agenda.
Right.
Does anybody think we are pushing a UN agenda in education? It is literally the most insane thing you've heard. But it's people that with the derangement syndrome, or they want to promote themselves, or they want clicks, or whatever, or they're. Well, that's. Yes, or what I actually think is involved with one particular person on that side, infiltration.
Right.
I'm like, you go in there and think about what we've talked about from the from the campaign perspective. Oh, well, if you have too many people running, somebody's planted by Lindsey Graham, and who's the one attacking the other person? Nobody would have thought, well, Lindsey Graham planted Mark Lynch. But guess what? Mark Lynch is doing Lindsey Graham's business. Who's the happiest person right now this morning looking at that stuff? Lindsey Graham. He is happy about it. Now, it could push some more people get some press. All press is good press, right? Even bad press, get it out there. Maybe Dan's name comes out more. Oh, he's defending his wife and his children. So that wakes somebody up that comes votes for him. I'll have to test it and see if my mother hears about this kind of drama that's out there, kind of leave her in the dark and see if she brings it up. But, that's, I mean, the only person happy today is Lindsey Graham and his team. They're happy. And who did it?
Anybody who's running for office and they're advertising their family's personal business as on their marquee, they're not in it for you. They're in it for themselves.
It's a good foreshadowing. of
That's
what
all it is. They're in it for themselves. They're in it for themselves and their family's benefit. That's it. If he's putting his family's logo on every day that he puts out, then that's just more advertising. It's his way of advertising
It
the political system to allow him to make people listen to it. Because here's the funny thing, and you talk about Word and all these other stations, they have no choice when it comes to advertising political statements from people. They have to accept it from everybody. If they accept it from one side, they have to accept it from everybody.
Yeah, there's some.
That's just the way it is. You either accept it all or you don't take any of it. They're going to take it, but for one thing.
I just, it upset me. It's reflective of what we've kind of had to deal with. It is a teaching, learning point that I think we all ought to understand. I'm not saying this as another hit against Mark Lynch. I'm saying this as we got to learn from this, and we need candidates that are going to be focused on mission. Jerry Tussaud was here earlier. He was a former chair in a Georgia county for the Republican Party. He ran for office. He funded his own campaign. That type of stuff. We helped him. We got him in there. And guess what? He's voted exactly the way we expected him to. He's done fan-freaking-tastic. And the reason why Jerry doesn't need anybody to get reelected. We elect people to county council, and guess what? They switch and flip on us immediately. House reps, state senators, U.S. senators, they all flip. And we're sitting there going, why? Well, guess what? What does a politician want to do? They want to get elected or get reelected or higher office. We were on a Zoom training this week that's what they were doing. They were talking about, I need your battery. I left my plug. But that's what they were talking about. Yeah, I need something. Well, we'll keep the crack production staff on for another week. I know. I'm always on thin ice. Yes.
On my couch,
Go ahead.
I want to add the other thing to Jerry. He got hit with the same tactic of failing to show to a debate that he was never invited to.
Yeah.
You're right. You're absolutely right. He wasn't.
His opponent said he was afraid to come and debate him, and Jerry said, I knew nothing about this debate.
Yeah. And I think it was a Chamber of Commerce debate too. You're like, of course. So it's incredible what they do. And I love that point. But Jerry got on Simpsonville City Council and is voting the right way. And it's 4-3 or 5-2. It's fantastic. And I'm like, and we were joking with him earlier, you're a politician now. What, I said, yes, you are a politician, but you're a proven politician.
He's honest.
He's proven because he did what he said he was going to do. He's got elected. But guess what? He doesn't have to sit there and say, well, I want to get reelected and I got to get all these donors to write me checks, because how do you stay elected? You get a bunch of money and you send out all kinds of mailers all the time and you give out favors and you do what the bad people do. We want somebody that gets elected in office and does for the people. Jerry's representing the people. It's been fantastic. So, and we normally do not praise politicians. So, as I say, I don't like 95% of them, and it's hard to identify the 5%. But Jerry is in that class. Curtis Loftus is in that class. Yes.
Be careful, lightning's going to strike.
I know. I'm sitting here saying that, and all of a sudden Jerry will turn on us. I know. Knock on wood or whatever, faux wood or whatever. This is real wood, I think. So I know. But anybody more comments? You want to move past that? Anything? It just was shocking to me. And we've talked about it for 45 minutes, and
I think what's funny about it is that we sit here and go back and forth saying that, we need to be more Christ-like. You got to remember, politics has nothing to do with Christianity at all. Right? The political system and the churches have completely dissolved from each other. And there's no way to play nice with a group of people who don't believe in one bit of what the Bible says anyway. They'll say they do, They'll get up there and pound on us saying, I go to church every Sunday, I'm there, I do this, I do that. But then when it comes down to it, they can't vote their conscience on what it's supposed to tell them they're supposed to do. They don't walk what they say they're gonna do. It's one thing to go in there and say, I'm this, I'm this. But when you turn around and walk away from it just because the higher ups in the party are telling you, oh, you need to vote with us so we can keep power. And that's what it boils down to. It's the same with our legislators in Columbia. They get in there, most people don't even know who their legislators are. And if you try to call them, you either get an answer machine or you get the typical, oh, I'll look into that, but you never get an answer machine. Because they got to wait till they get Columbia to ask them, what are we supposed to say?
And I'll remind you, the first thing a politician does when you call their office as a new person, they look you up to see if you vote in a primary. If you don't vote in the primary, they don't care.
That's why mine answers and talks to me when I call.
Yeah.
He knows I vote.
Yeah.
I voted in every election
Yes.
since I've been
Yes.
18 years old.
You want some influence, vote in a primary. Yes, lady with a gunshot, former gunshot.
Point of order.
Grab that microphone. You always have very good information. And your neighbor next to you on your right, she can teach you how to use it. She was the best last week. We're gonna have a training just on using the mic.
There you go. First of all, politics is about power. Okay. I'm here for honest governance. I think that's what we're all here for. We're not here for political gain or political power. Therefore, we are here representing our families and the hope of the future of our children and our grandchildren. So therefore, we want to make sure that government policies like Frank is involved in is getting the job done in the right way that we want to see it done, right? So politics and government policies are different. And I have to explain that to a lot of my girlfriends who question me because I show up here. So we need to keep that in mind because we're not here. Thank goodness that Jerry got elected. He's an honest fellow. And we need more honesty in the room. And but we're not here to one-upmanship type of thing. We're here to make sure that our families are going to have a hope and a future. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
And you're right about it. And I will tell you, and you know, I talked to somebody about this recently. You know, there's a lot of how do you call it? Just bent up or grudges people hold in politics, and they will take it out on another person, even if it hurts kids. In our case, school choice. You know, and it's amazing. I'm like, why can't you get past your grudge? You know?
Or just the everyday constituent. You get in Congress, you get these guys who have a grudge against each other, and they'll turn around and vote against somebody just because they don't like that person, instead of the fact that this bill actually would benefit their own constituents.
Yeah. And I know, and I will tell you, I mean, a lot of times somebody will ask me about a bill. First thing I do is go look up and see who filed it, you know, because that will give me an indication of kind of, number one, if it's got a chance, number two, if they really do mean what the title of the bill says and those types of things, you know. But I'm not going to sit there and vote against and not support a bill out of a grudge. If it's going to help the constituents or society, you know, you got to do the right thing. And there's a lot of people down there at the State House, and I'm sure in Congress and all over the place, that won't do it just because of who's X, Y, and Z. I mean, no fan necessarily of the Freedom Caucus, like everything they say, but you know, they will complain that their bills are dead on arrival, you know, and they'll tell you, you know, and it is, you know, and I don't think that's the right thing the leadership should be doing. You know, they really shouldn't just, you know, kill a bill because the Freedom Caucus person filed it. Yes, ma'am.
I like what this man said, because we assume that people who go into politics, which is about power and control, are in it for the right reasons.
Right.
Why do we assume that they would be in a state of Christ consciousness, higher awareness, when it may attract narcissists? It may attract those kind of people.
Yes, it does. It does, and it's been proven.
So when honest people go in with the light that can overcome the darkness, there's just not enough light coming in at times.
And we got to figure out a way to get more good people elected. And that's what we're doing, and that's why we're trying to get them all more involved in even campaigns and things like that.
Well, that boils down to the same problem that people are so worried about how they speak or what they say instead of being themselves. Just be yourselves. Lay yourself out there as your normal person. Don't try to get out there and impress this group of people by the way you speak, and then go to another group of people and you speak to that group in the way they want to hear. Just be who you are, and don't sugarcoat who you are. If like in my case, I'm a 60-year-old, almost 30-year vet. I have a very short fuse sometimes when it comes to dealing with stupid people. And I will tell them you're a stupid person.
We need to try better, yes, but yes, we all do lose our cool on occasion. I've lost my cool a time or two too, so it happens.
But it's so many people are worried about, if I lose control, people are going to get upset. Be yourself. Quit trying to be something you're not. And that's what we want, real people.
Exactly. It's all good. Since we were talking about school choice, is it time to discuss the hot topic of school choice and what happened between
Oh my gosh, yes.
yesterday and today, and it's like becoming such a big story. I don't even know where to start.
There was a hearing on the Senate side yesterday. Yes, on the Senate side. I have not watched it yet.
I just read an article kind of talking about it. We have not watched it. It was the Senator Henry Massey. Jackson.
Yeah, and this has to do with the education savings account, the ESTAs they call it, education scholarship trust accounts. But I mean, it is what is happening with them now is exactly what we told everybody was going to happen. Number one, Ellen Weaver and the Department of Ed started using some of those ESAs for kids they're calling them unbundled kids or homeschool kids. Well, the legislators and even the people on the homeschool side didn't want to have anything to do with it, which we somewhat agree with. With a government-run program.
I think their perspective was not to totally upset the public schools. Maybe, do you think?
Whose perspective? The homeschool people?
No, the legislators.
I don't know if it's amount of money, whether it's going to homeschoolers or private schoolers. I don't know if they really cared, but the homeschool community didn't want. But it was very, very, very clear that those kids were not supposed to get this money. So you got one of two things: either Department of Ed, went off the reservation and did whatever the heck they wanted, even though they knew they weren't supposed to, or they went ahead and did what they wanted because they want to suck those kids into the government-run system.
So
That's what I think it is. They want to suck. They want to start spreading some money to the homeschool community to get them sucked into the system and attached. So then they can come back and regulate them later.
And that was part of when I read the article about it. I have not watched the hearing. There were two issues brought. Number one, the trust. The legislators were kept emphasizing how the trust was lost between them and the superintendent of education because she should have known better.
She knew better. Everybody knew.
The money was not supposed to go toward the kids of homeschoolers. There was an issue of data apparently, which we are not supporters on. Our
school choice.
data.
We're school choice supporters. But there's two types of school choice. There's government-run school choice, which strings will become attached, and they will. And then there's private, independent, free market school choice, which the person in the middle, you either have the government in the middle, bad, or you have these independent nonprofits in the middle who are all fighting to keep the government off of the parents and off of the schools. And I'll give you an example of what's gone on. That's going to be exactly what we said was going to happen next. But
so I think the other issue was brought up in the hearing yesterday from me reading about it. The Department of Education is supposed to submit data of, the numbers, how much money is going where, and they have not submitted the 2024, 2025 report. So that was another issue, like no accountability. But the worst what happened to me was absolutely troubling. That yesterday or
And I will add, they did release, and it's been out a couple months now, but they did a survey of the parents that participated in the first year of the ESA, and it was like 43% was unsatisfied. Because it's government run, it's run by a class wallet, and it's like, it's not, people that down the street that are going to come to your school and work with you and do that kind of stuff. Yeah, it becomes this is the Leering Center. Guess but her story, I think you're going to and I will tell you, a lot of this has come out because of and it's not necessarily our favorite person, and people on our side seem to dislike Neil Collins. Neil Collins is going after them because he's on the Education Oversight Committee, and he's like, they've lied to us. They're not giving us the data that they've said they would give to us. They're giving it to kids that they should know were not eligible for it, that everybody knew, literally everybody knew that they weren't eligible. And because I think he made a comment that, essentially, I think, what did he say? 9 million of the 50 million went to these kids that aren't eligible. And it's like, well, there's your Leering Center. There's your, that type of stuff. Because I will promise you, nobody at Class Wallet or State Department of Education is thinking about this 24/7 and worried about it. And guess what? If something goes wrong, they're going to blame it on the kids and or the families, as opposed to the government people administering it. We never wrote a check that was ever, accused of going to the wrong place or anything of that nature, because, we were living it 24/7. We knew we would jeopardize the program if we did anything wrong. Now, they accused us of wrong things, but they never did what they've done now to
with
this.
no one receipt, and I want to start with this.
Right.
There are organizations that are distributing the money currently, so they're getting paid to basically receive the money from the government and give the money to families, and that's their job. You want to talk about it?
And that's part of the problem.
Yes.
Because it doesn't matter if you got the government doing it or you got an NGO doing it. Somebody's got to have their fingers in the pot.
There has to be somebody that cuts the check. There's always a middle person. That's why some people said, "Oh, well, we like the third option of be a direct tax credit from the Department of Revenue." I'm like, okay, well, the Department of Revenue is cutting the check. And there's a lot of people say, I really don't want the Department of Revenue going to say, well, let's look at your entire tax return because you got a check back, from the government. That's why they don't. There's always somebody in the middle.
They did that with the healthcare benefits. Just like,
oh yeah, no.
If you were on the marketplace, you had to claim that on your taxes.
I'm well aware, and I'm dealing with that right now.
So, going back a little bit, when we were implementing the program, we were one of several organizations doing it. You better believe we were doing our checks of eligibility. It was our job to issue checks to kids that qualified. There was one issue that we remembered this morning. We actually brought up to the legislators an issue that we discovered. There was a school in Colombia. I'm not going to go into more details. There was a school in Colombia that we heard from parents that tuition was whatever, let's pick a number.
$10,000.
$10,000. The parents, to be able to have that tuition discounted, were asked to work at the school. Like to
come do volunteer stuff. You get a discount on your tuition if you'll come volunteer. So we'll give you, if you come work 40 hours a week here, we'll give you a discount on your $25 GOP membership. Joke.
So
I'm trying to recruit people.
then what happened, they were, I don't want to mess
So
up.
those parents had come in and worked and expected their tuition to be $7,000, for example, paying, clean up the yard, do all that kind of stuff over the summer, that kind of stuff. Well, we give them a $10,000 scholarship, and the school takes the whole $10,000.
So they came to us and said,
They're
well,
like,
my tuition is not $10,000, but I saw a check for my child that was endorsed to school, $10,000.
because the school told us the tuition was $10,000. So the school was cheating the system to get the cash. We reported it to the Department of Revenue, and I'm sure we reported the Education Oversight Committee. They would not do anything. Nothing. They would do nothing. We tried to stop working with the school,
And
and maybe we
trouble
did.
because we want to say no to that school. We
Right.
did not want to work with school that was cheating the system. We got in trouble for saying no to a school. Long story short, fast forward today.
Yes.
What got me again, we try to report.
And
that
Neil Collins put this out,
Right.
so it's out there.
There was a mother, and I'm going to put it on the screen. What happened to my screen?
What
I see
committee
that.
is Neil Collins on?
I assume he's on the education committee, but he's on the education oversight committee, which is outside. But I don't know what committees he's on in the South Carolina House of Representatives, but he's definitely on the education oversight committee.
This is a SLED report talking about an arrest of a mother in, where was she? Calhoun?
I think it's Calhoun County.
I cannot read anymore. A mother was arrested for misusing the ESA funds.
Yeah.
And
Not the State Department of Education letting them, or Class Wallet, the vendor who's paid to make sure the people qualify and they use the money for the right stuff. They went and arrested the mother. Now, maybe the mother is lying about all kinds of stuff and gone further and all that. But why did Class Wallet not know? Why did State Department of Education not know? We had a lot of checks to make sure our parents were with the schools and all that kind of stuff. They're giving out money and then going and arresting the parents.
It does talk about the mother buying Apple devices for resale. So she might have done that intentionally and wrong. But for the statement that our superintendent of education asks SLED to investigation of the family, I think. Why? I mean, I don't know. We don't have access to all the investigation. But to me, why not? What about the agency, the company that wrote that check? Why couldn't they make sure the money was being used for the right reason? To me, it's just, it's a matter of a student.
And there can be more to the story, but my point is Class Wallet was supposed to do that.
Right.
But guess what? Class Wallet is a tech company. They're trying to make as much profit as they can make. They're trying to spin it up on going public later on with their private equity deals.
How much
And
money does Class Wallet make?
they get 5%. So if it was $50 million last year, they got $2.5 million.
Can
so-
they do
Too
a
much.
little better checking where the money is going?
A
Even
whole
at
lot.
when we were running the program, again, I'm gonna keep bringing it up. There were so many cases, we would write checks, deliver them to school, not just give them to parents, because we made sure that, God forbid, there is parents that still owe tuition money and take the check and runs off to Disney, right?
Right.
We made sure we deliver the checks to school so the school can run their
That's an
accounting.
education.
And if there
That's why we didn't send the checks to the parents. We sent it to the school. This parent would come in and endorse it over to the school. So we knew that was our double check. It was actually part of the Georgia law. The Georgia law said you had to write the check in the name of the family or the parent and deliver it to the school. So the parent would have to come in and endorse. That was the best check ever. Think about it. They're a student if they got to come in and you got a $10,000 bill from the school. Oh, we'll endorse the check over. Well, those parents at that school in Columbia said, well, I only have a $7,000 bill and there's a $10,000 check here. Why are you getting where's the difference? Yeah. And not that they would get the money back, but I mean, it was interesting that way. Yeah. But
slow
But let me finish what happened with this. We were doing it. That's the way we did it from the get-go, even though it wasn't in the law saying that, because the law didn't say whether you write it to the school or write it to the parent. They didn't know at the time. They left that. So we did exactly what the law said in Georgia and how the program worked successfully there. Wrote it to the parent's name, because we're donating a scholarship to the kid or whatever, the guardian, and then deliver it to the school. So all the checks and balances work. Well, guess what? The Education Oversight Committee came in and did, and our battle with them is they changed the whole thing. Said, oh no, you just write. They changed it in the law that we had to write the check to the school and not into the name of the family. it made our job 100 times easier, right? So you're giving a school $1 million, you got 100 kids getting 10,000 apiece. We literally had to write 100 different checks, and they had to have the parent come in, and it was a whole lot of extra work as opposed to just sending a wire transfer for $1 million, but legally, it was accountability was much better, number one. And number two, when you look at it from a Blaine Amendment perspective, it's an additional legal check, when and if the system had been sued, we would say, well, we're not giving money to schools. We're giving it to the parents. And, because what the Blaine Amendment says, you can't give public dollars directly to non-public schools. Religious schools, you can't do that. So, EOC literally put into the law something that would jeopardize the entire program by writing the checks to the school. Now, there's 5 other checks, that would keep us constitutional, but it was like, why would you jeopardize the program just to stick it to us? Because we did it one way, they said, oh, we're going to do the opposite. Back to the Jeff Davis derangement syndrome. I don't know why people I honestly don't know why they get deranged. I will do whatever the right way to do is, but they don't want to even listen to it. So
long story short, is that it's not satisfying actually at all, but you want to say, I told you so. Years and years and years of battling.
We've got the issue of saying, I told you so to the freedom fighter type patriot people that turned their guns on us and started attacking us. We want to say, we told you so to the rhino establishment, all those people, on that side of the fence that are screwing it up too, that's getting a mother arrested and all these other things.
Told you so. Kids don't matter.
They don't.
Yes.
Nobody cares about the kid in this thing. And I will tell you, the one other thing that's been very interesting, Neil Collins put out, is this is another huge thing we said. There's one thing, what Class Wallet does, they get the 5% to administer the program. Okay, it's what you can, whether it's justified or not. I think local independent nonprofits can get a lot more value for that 5% or whatever it might be, but that's okay. Just look at that. But what they do is they put the money into an account, and then they provide you access to what's called a marketplace, so you can go buy goods, as opposed to we just always pay tuition. It always, it's only $7,000. Pay the tuition, and you don't have to worry about all this other stuff. But the rhinos wanted to say, well, we're giving them options, and it's more freedom. They can choose to buy an iPad or some more paper or a printer or something.
What happened that mother bought apparently things that were on approved vendor
Right.
list.
But you have to, guess what? You have to buy it through their marketplace. Mm-hmm. And all of the parents and all the feedback has been, guess what? Everything is much more expensive on the marketplace than if you went to Walmart and bought it for cash. And you don't tell me that there's not some cutbacks, kickback scheme, under the table, or just friends of friends, to get on the approved vendor list. Yes.
Who is Class Wallet's contract with?
Class Wallet is the company. The State Department of Education has a contract with Class Wallet. Yes. Okay. Yes. The state has a contract with it.
Why won't we talk about a little bit of background of Class Wallet?
Yeah. In before Class Wallet, there was another tech company they were trying to push into that thing. That company got sold off to something. So that's why they're trying to push the government-run schools, because Class Wallet, they're getting sued all over the country. Yeah, and it's because there's not real people, not people that believe in real school choice. They're just trying to make a bunch of money and sell the company off later on. But I will tell you that Class Wallet is headquartered in Fort Lauderdale. There's 2 founders. One is a lawyer kind of business guy, and the other is a tech guy. So they kind of have the 2 people kind of build a tech company. You got the business guy and you got the tech guy. The tech guy, his daughter or one of his children went to that Parkland High School where the shooting was, right? So we're just watching the news, or maybe I searched his name, or just doing our background research on the owners and trying to track the founders of Class Wallet. Well, I find that this guy was interviewed by Good Morning America with Michael Strahan, the football player. So I watch a video of the founder of Class Wallet, the tech guy, being interviewed by Michael Strahan about the Parkland shooting, and about how much we should have gun control.
Okay,
Again, so he's against the Second Amendment. And I'm like, we are literally, and I've told a couple legislators, I'm like, you're gun people, right? Why are you sitting there funding a guy's company, going to make him a multi-million billionaire, whatever, when he's all against the Second Amendment? Where do you think he's going to be donating his money when he sells his company and makes, 100, 200, $500 million to Democrats?
I don't.
I think they're probably less scared of the Democrats he would fund than the Republicans we would fund. So that might be the problem.
It just baffles me that South Carolina is giving state taxpayer dollars to a company in Florida.
Well, that's the other thing. Yes, yes.
It is so beyond stupid.
Well, they wrote the law. The law, if you read the law, it is like the only vendor that qualifies is Class 1. I mean, and that's a pretty typical thing. They write a law that, the only person out there that would qualify would be Class 1.
Of course, then you got the rogue gods at the Supreme Court who were supposed to say whether or not something is constitutional or not, and that would be the way I read the Constitution, would be a direct violation of the Constitution, because you can't.
Then you just
write
change
a law that benefits one entity over everybody.
remember when Class Wallet got money before the program started, and the program then was shut down by Supreme Court, and they got paid for basically
doing
Nothing.
nothing?
Yeah. But I will tell you, there was 2 times Class Wallet got the contract on this. The first time is when they try to give them a sole source contract that was put out as an emergency COVID contract. They put the contract bid out, like on a Friday. It was due by the next Friday.
No bid.
Nobody knew what the hell was going on. Obviously they got the phone call, say, hey, it's on the website now. Go get it and send it in. So you get, and it was an emergency COVID contract. So that's why they had to do it outside the normal parameters, right? Well, the second time they passed the law, and I'm like, we know tech people. I can figure out, we can do this. I looked for them putting out the contract. I looked high and low on all of the systems. I could never find it until after it had been awarded. I'm like, I could not even find it, because I was going to do play the game of, okay, here's a South Carolina company. We can, design the technology and do all that. Because I will promise you, we founded a couple tech companies in the old days. It's doable. It's very doable, even with outsourcing some things and figuring some things out. And I will tell you, Class Wallet, even though they're a tech company, I think most of their stuff is done by squirrels in the back room, i.e. humans, to cover up and say, oh, well, look, the technology here. Is the tech guy laughing over there? He knows how it really works. It's like, it all looks good like the machine's doing it, but there's some people back there fixing it all day long. It's like.
It goes back to the no bid. Who actually got kickback?
Right, but I could not find. I looked for it.
Somebody
I
in the
looked,
state
and
house get kickback.
Yes, yes.
And I would not be surprised if Collins's name is in their,
But
in their ledger somewhere.
it could have been, but it was. I think it more came through Ellen Weaver and Jim the Man and all those kind of guys, because that's who the real fight was.
Asking just your information. Collins is committee's ethics committee and ways and means.
Oh, so Collins is on Ways and Means, much more powerful committees, and I think he moved from education to Ways and Means a couple years ago. Yeah, good. Yeah, so that's interesting.
I still wonder why people don't want Jeff Davis in the room, right? He's being blocked from SCGOP meetings and stuff because he brings up stuff like that.
And I will tell you, I'll give you another thing that happened last night, and I don't want to hog the floor, but I had a politician, or he's a candidate for county council. I'm not going to say who. Messaged me yesterday asking me about asking if he could get my opinion on something. I'm like, of course, and asked about a specific issue with the county. Like a problem issue over here. Particular department at the county. What would I suggest on being able to fix this problem? It's one issue. I can tell you, there's probably 1,000 issues down there at the county. He wanted to help fix this one. And I'm like, okay, well, that's admirable. You want to be a public servant and fix something. I said, that's great. that's pretty in the weeds on trying to, as a candidate for county council, wanting to try to go out there and fix them. I said, the real problem is not that one issue. The real problem is leadership. Why is that person that's in charge of that department not fixing that issue? That's what they're paid for, right? And I'm sure whoever's heading that department is getting paid 6 figures and has a nice retirement plan and all that kind of stuff, and probably only works 40 hours a week or 35 hours a week. I'm like, why is he or she not fixing that? Number one. And or why is the county administrator not hiring people to head departments that can fix it or get involving himself?
Exactly.
I was like, don't focus on the one tree, focus on the entire forest. The county council is supposed to be there for oversight, like a board, not to be going into each department and fixing minor little relatively. And I did use the term relatively because I'm sure that problem is a serious problem for the people that it's impacting, but it's relative to the 1,000 problems down there at the county Golden Palace. And man, he didn't want to hear any of that. I said, he wanted to focus on fixing one issue, which I said, it sounds like what you want to do is fix that one issue, get the nice pat on the back, and not offend the department head and or the county administrator. I said, if you want to be a leader, leaders offend people.
Get in the face.
Right.
So, obviously this guy he's not going to like me because I gave him all the wrong answers, but he wasn't even getting it. I'm like, you want to be a leader of, and run for office, but no, you don't want to. We want people that will tackle the hard problem and say, we got a problem with our county administrator. You take on, it's like with us, you take on Lindsey Graham, he's going to come after you. Be prepared. You take on the county administrator, if you went and campaigned for office to take out the county administrator, and I know some of our people did, and it rolls off the back of some people because it's not really effective because they knew they could probably flip them immediately, which apparently they did. But if Jeff Davis ran and said, "Oh, I'm running to go on county council to take out the county administrator," Katie barred the door. they would have done everything because they know they wouldn't flip me once I got there, or Jerry Tussaud. They weren't happy with Jerry Tussaud because they knew they probably couldn't flip Jerry. So that's the type of people we got to get. But this guy wants to run for office and get the pat on the back for solving a little problem, but not offending the people that can actually, cut his throat and take him out. So, and I'm like, that's not good. I don't think we'll be supporting him for county council, but we'll see. We'll see. All right, what's next?
How many seats are up for county council?
I think 5.
And how many?
There's 12 total, and I think there's 5 seats. Benton is running again. Benton Blunt, Rick Bradley, Joey Russo is not running. There's 2 candidates in the race. I know there's a third that'll be there. Dan Tripp and probably one of the Democrats for the 5th. Yeah, the Democrat district is tough. I don't think there's much of a chance down there that they want to fight it out for a new Democrat. That's their thing. I don't think it's a doable win on the Republican side. And then, the 2 races are replacing Joey Russo and Dan Tripp. So there's one challenger I know of to Rick Bradley. We'll see. I don't know of any challengers yet to Benton. So
You're about 3 to Russo.
there's 2. James Horde, who used to work with us, and Joe Dill's going to run again. Joe Dill's,
He hasn't learned yet.
Yeah, I don't know, but the 2 of them, kind of teamed up against us. Now we're watching them battle and fight each other out. So it's kind of funny. But I think there'll be a third candidate in that race, if not more. There could be more. Open seats normally encourage people, wild cards, to come up there and run. So, but it's funny when you see Joe Dill and James Horde going to start fighting each other and stuff. So. They already are, and it's like, yeah. So be prepared for that funness. But that's again, it's not about for them. And apparently, all of a sudden, didn't become about their mission of doing something. It's like, oh no, I want to be the county council member. No, I want to be the county council member again, and I can hit the ground running. And we need new blood. So they're fighting each other. So
it's experience. I can know what's going on.
Yeah.
We'll see.
You were part of the problem before. What makes you think we're gonna let you go back and fix it?
What do y'all want to talk about? Or you want to talk? We got a 1 o'clock Zoom. I think I've got to get on. It's a state party Zoom, and I'm not sure they're going to send me the actual info. It's a training thing, but we'll record it or watch it if they send it to me. So I want to finish before 1. We can talk about the stuff for the special meeting. If you want to go through it real quick, there's going to be 5 items on there. If you could put the PowerPoint up, Olga. And I will. Oh, you have something? Okay. Well, if you want to do yours real quick and then speak in the mic, that'd be fantastic.
Jump right on up here. Great.
We are going to have a training on the mics. Kitties.
Not a whole lot happening, but the pro-life movements are getting active again this year. Last Saturday, Love Life had their prayer walk, and I was present for that. Tuesday night was 40 Days for Life kicked off. The 40 Days for Life happens twice a year. The spring one kicked off on Tuesday, and I was a guest speaker for that.
Oh, where do they have that?
Both of those were at Christ is King Church, which is only a block away from the abortion clinic.
Okay, good. That's fantastic. Glad you went. Thank you. That's it?
Yes, I did check up on bills. There's nothing new. Nothing's happened this past week as far as pro-life legislation.
Okay. All right. 40 Days for Life is a big thing. And what more is going on with that here in Greenville over the next 40 days? Anything we need to?
40 Days for Life, we asked people to come down to the clinic and pray for an hour. And different churches, primarily Ingrid, Ireland, coordinates these events. Before the event, we actually were collecting names of people who'd be willing to volunteer, and then they sign up for a day and an hour where they would like to come out and pray.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you for that. That was short.
Really quick. Before
Do you want me to put it up there? Or
I
the
got-
PowerPoint? Okay.
Just a reminder for all the folks, you guys Smith.
Yes. As early voting started in North Carolina. They are March 3rd, so they probably would started on this week, probably the 16th. So early, if you know anybody.
Started last week.
Last week?
North
Really?
Carolina did. Started last week.
Early one.
Started early voting last week.
Not this week. So they have 3 weeks of early voting.
Started Tuesday.
Tuesday the 10th or the 7th.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fantastic. Good. But if you know people out there, get them out to vote. Challenging clients or guys big on Don Brown. We like Don Brown. It'll be an interesting race.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And what is it for? What are we
U.S.
doing?
This is for the U.S. Senate.
The Senate in
Yeah.
North Carolina.
Yeah, Tom Tillis is not running for re-election. So it's Mike Whatley versus Don Brown.
Okay.
Mike Whatley, former chair of the RNC. Kind of the machine is behind him.
In North Carolina, GOP as well.
Yeah. So there, Don Brown's the challenger up there. So
So I have the screen up for special meeting, but let's not forget after, let's also talk about the fire department consolidation. Someone else has to talk about it.
okay. Do you want to add it to the stage real quick?
Yes.
And we'll try to.
To get them to talk about Don Brown in North Carolina, Cody Brent, North Carolina.
Yeah.
It is really important.
And Don Brown's a vet. I think he was a Navy vet. He's a lawyer. He's been. I mean, that guy is in the weeds and the grassroots. He's doing a lot of stuff. So I mean,
You see him on Rab quite often.
Yep. He does get interviewed.
What do you see?
He's on Rab.
Real America's Voice. He gets interviewed a lot and stuff like that. All right, if you go to the next page, Olga, there's going to be at least 5. If something comes up, we can add it to the agenda for Monday. We put it out there. Nobody's suggesting anything new. The 5 things we've got on Monday, we're going to elect a new first vice chair, Emerson Cook. Everybody's met Emerson from here. He's been calling people. I'm not aware of anybody else running. Nobody else has expressed any interest, or I think everybody just thinks Emerson will be perfect. 19 years old. Let's get some youth and some stuff like that. I will say Emerson did set up we had a call with some representatives from TPUSA, College Republicans, and somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, Young Americans for Liberty on the youth side. And last Saturday. So, you know, I think it'll be a good network and kind of liaison from us into that. You know, there's a lot of gray hair here, and what hair I do have left is actually gray. Yeah. But I think that'll be great. So that'll be number one. Number two, we're going to vote on the GCRP budget. We've had a couple questions. Mary was on the Zoom call we did last night. There wasn't a lot of things. It's really almost a repeat. You know, we were very conservative on the income. We kind of repeated what we had in 24, being a non-reorg year. And then we were a little more higher on our estimate for expenses, but we're still net positive. And we were starting the year with almost 16,000 in the bank. So, you know, obviously we got work to do for our fundraising and stuff like that. So, but it's very conservative, and hopefully we'll do a lot more on the income and less on the expense. I'm kind of a cheap guy. Then the other three things is we're going to do rule change votes. And really this is, you know, our rules committee, and what we've tasked them to do is for a rewrite on our GCRP rules. A lot of the rules are, you know, you really can't, you know, they could be interpreted multiple ways. Our rules chair back there in the corner is laughing. That's a kind way of saying it. You know, they're purposely written to be, you know, interpreted whichever way the powers that be wanted to interpret them. I like rules that are rules, right? You know, I want to know specifically. I don't want y'all saying, well, this year you said it was that way. Next year I'm saying it's this way because I'm trying to change things. So we're trying to write the rules, you know, clean up a few things. Instead of bringing to y'all 50 rule changes, I'd like to do 1 or 2 or 3 at each meeting and start getting in the habit of understanding it. Number one, it's a way to learn the rules. Number two, it's a way to, you know, understand what the rules committee does, what the executive board has to deal with in implementing the rules and following the rules. And as ECs or members, you know, proxy member voters or whatnot, or presidents of your precinct, you should follow the rules. And if you go to greenvillegop.com/rules, you can pull up, you know, I think our rules are there and state party rules. You can read these things, but we'll do one at a time, you know, kind of make sure everybody's comfortable with it. At the last meeting, the first rule change, what we're going to do. Last meeting, we tried to do so we would put into our rules that we could do virtual meetings. We've done them, hybrid meetings, you know, I mean, committees, everybody, I mean, it's the way of the world now. But as Dr. Sheen was going through and doing the videos for the Robert's Rules of Order training that we did last Saturday, you know, he discovered that technically in Robert's Rules, you have to have it in your own bylaws. Now, my guess is the next version of Robert's Rules will say, you know, it's automatic. It will probably change the presumption. What it's called is a presumption. The presumption is if you want to do online, you have to have it in your bylaws. It's so common now. The presumption will be, yes, you don't have to have it in your bylaws. You are allowed to do that. So, but those new rules are not out yet. Well, we have discovered, and how the vote went down at our January meeting, we had people, you know, arguing or confusing the whole situation. You know, so a lot of people thought we were trying to change the quarterly meetings to all virtual, even though all of our meetings are hybrid meetings. You know, you can come in person and or come online. We want more. Our goal is to have more participation, easier. I mean, there's some people that drive an hour. If you're coming from Fountain Inn 1, or is it 2? It's 1. 1. You know, you're driving a long way. You know, Fountain Inn 1's a long way to drive. Thankfully, we got 2 people from Fountain Inn 1 here today. You know, if you can't make it, we want you to be able to participate. You know, and you know, some people I think it's literally an hour. So to change a rule, you have to have a 2/3 of the members, people at the meeting have to vote in favor of it. It was passed over 50% in that sense, but we didn't hit the 2/3 threshold. And we've seen the votes, and there's a lot of people voting all kinds of different ways. I think there's a lot of confusion. So we're talking to people about it now, answering questions, get everybody on the same, you know, truthful understanding, as opposed to some people thinking we were changing the quarterly meetings. So we're going to revote on that. What we've discovered is we don't really, you know, whether it passes or not, it doesn't matter, because technically we follow under the SCGOP, which they don't have it in their rules, but SCGOP then falls under the RNC, right? It's in their rules. So we can do it because of that. So I mean, that was my thing, is number one, this should have been a no-brainer voice vote. Yeah, we all approved, you know, move past, but people, you know, took advantage to manipulate some of the Mark Lynch supporters. But the second thing, I'm like, everybody does it.
literally everybody does it. We've been doing it. The SCGOP does it. You know, you got to think the RNC's doing it because, you know, they got people all over the country. You want to tell me we're complaining about driving an hour from Fountain Inn. There are people from Hawaii that, you know, how do you can't be, tell them they can't do an online virtual meeting. Yeah, I mean, you got to be able to identify yourself and all that stuff, you know, the normal things, which our rules will cover. So we're going to redo that just to, you know, hammer it in to say, hey, let's be reasonable. And also I wanted people to understand why, you know, the confusion was created last time. The second thing we're going to do, there's been a lot of talk about, you know, with this closed primary bills, the SCGOP bill, you know, it was semi-closed primaries, but they slipped in a candidate qualification that you would have to have voted in 2 out of the 3. And we call that the David Pasco rule. You know, but it wasn't just keeping out Pasco, and I'm not sure if technically it would keep him out, but it was to keep out, you know, a lot of other people. You know, it would have interfered. Our issue is closed primaries. The SCGOP's issue was essentially keeping Pasco out as a Republican from running as a Republican because they're scared to death he's going to go prosecute them all. You know, I mean, let him run if he wins, let him win. And, you know, if you got nothing to fear, I don't have anything to fear. I want David Pasco there. But I'm telling you, if I've been doing corrupt things, I would not want David Pasco elected. I mean, it's scaring a lot of them. I mean, he's literally running against those people, and they're trying to change the law. And what I'm waiting for is the state of South Carolina has a unique situation where we don't have a statute of limitations. So David Pasco could go look at stuff from 20 years ago, you know, and there's no statute of limitations. So I'm waiting for somebody, and we need to probably put it into the bill, you know, GOP plus the legislative thing, search for statute of limitations, you know, because I think they're going to probably try to create a statute of limitations blanket to, you know, protect themselves.
Now they will.
So yeah. So everybody has been on the understanding that the 2 of 3 was to keep Pasco and other people out, but I want to talk about the history of the 2 of 3. 2 of 3 rules started here in Greenville County. It's part of our rules. It was put in there to, you know, to keep ECs out if you not voted in 2 of the 3 past primaries. It was put in there to keep out the Tea Party types, you know, and because a lot of Tea Party types, they first get involved in politics. They're like, you know, maybe they hadn't voted in a primary. We only have 50% turnout. You know, a lot of people don't think about it. The rhinos all thought about it. So the rhinos all had 2 out of 3 primaries. So they added that rule to keep out the Tea Party types. In 2022, guess what happened? All of us got involved in 21 following, you know, the stolen election of 2020. And what did Drew McKissick do? He added the 2 of 3 rule into the state party rules to keep out state delegates and county leadership or state leadership. They said you have to have 2 out of 3. I know, actually, Joy Stuggs over in Anderson was supposed to be the chair 2 years ago, but she couldn't run till this time because she didn't have 2 out of 3. I mean, it was
people that wake up.
Right. It stops. Yes. And what should stop the people, you know, or should, I mean, having a candidate is okay. We should vote and decide. Olga does not have the 2 of 3. This is not to change it for Olga, but our precinct ought to be able to decide whether she is somebody we want to vote, whether she has 2 of 3 or not.
Right. If they've never previously been eligible to vote,
Right.
if you're newly
Right.
eligible,
Right.
you should be able to.
And there's an exception for the 18-year-old kid that wasn't able. There's not an exception for the new citizen.
Should be.
You know, there should be something like that. I think we just get rid of the whole thing.
Yeah, that's their way of disenfranchising people that they don't deem worthy of having their voice heard.
So we're teaching people about it. I want to teach people about the history of it. And the folks that I've talked to, I mean, you know, it shouldn't be a qualification to run. That's what we're getting rid of.
Especially, I pointed out yesterday on the Zoom, I'm gonna repeat it here. In South Carolina, not having close primaries, the Democrats vote in our primaries.
Yeah.
So they are eligible
Yeah. There's a
to be our ECs with their voting record in Republican primaries.
Russell Stahl, who just didn't run for re-election, but he's been on Greenville City Council, huge Democrat. He votes in our primaries. He would qualify to be an EC. So the rule, it must be good.
It's not serving the purpose of stopping Democrats as some would explain.
I've not seen the rule be effective in keeping Democrats out. I've seen the rule be very effective in keeping good Republicans out. And that's why, even though some people I talked to on a statewide basis, they were like, "Oh, well, it's actually a good idea for the precincts." I'm like, "Wait a second, take it through to the next step." You're right; it's bad top to bottom. So we want to get rid of that, just delete it completely. And the other rule change we're going to do is the budget. So we're voting on the budget, but even if you read the budget provision, which Olga's got on the screen, it's Rule 9A. It says an annual budget shall be prepared by the officers and presented to the executive committee for approval no later than February 10th of each year. That can be interpreted, and we've done it multiple different ways. Do we have to send the bill, the budget to you to look at and have it be passed by the 10th? Or is it just have to be presented by the 10th? When does it need to be voted on? Does that, and that
Made available to all the EC voting.
yes, and it can go both ways. And we've done it over the past 5 years. We've done it different ways. We've done it where we presented and voted on it by then. We've done it where we presented by then and voted on it afterwards. We've done it all kinds. What we want to do is write this so it's clear that we will present the budget to the body by February 10th, and then we will have have it voted on by March 10th. So everybody gets a month to look at it and kind of keep. I don't know where the hell they came up with February 10th. It doesn't make any sense to me as a financial person, whatever, but that's what they have. So we just said, oh, you will have 1 month. So if we have a meeting, if the other option was to stay presented by the 10th and voted on at the next regular or special meeting. 29th.
Maybe have it land on a Monday.
Why not February 30th? It is 4 years.
Yeah, that would be really good. At the next February 29th meeting, we'll have it. 4 years will be plenty. But but for us, it's like, we actually, and we got good feedback last night, to have a definitive date, because the next meeting for right now, our next meeting is not till April. So we present it. If we vote at the April meeting, that's getting kind of long in the tooth, as we say. So we set a deadline for actually having a meeting, and we could do those special meetings like this and stuff like that. So, and that was good feedback that we got for the meeting last night. So, but if there's anything else people have been coming up with,
Well, somebody will come up with how long do you have to get it on the website and make it available to the general public? So a little statement after that says made available to everybody on the current platform by another 2 weeks.
I would want to put a motion, how about we thank our leadership for putting it on the website, because that's the only county GOP.
Right, well, somebody will complain that we have it.
well, and that is something I brought. I don't know anybody else that has a budget or prepares a budget or has it in the rules. State party doesn't have it. We don't vote on the state party though, or publicly available. Go to greenvillegop.com/budget if you have this year's and I think the prior 2 years.
I guess it's human nature. I just tell people like that, not really to get thank yous or anything for the leadership to make.
Oh, she likes that.
Well,
We all like thank yous.
pointing out you,
I'm
you're
in.
the one doing it.
Pick on my cousin.
I just like to keep pointing it out so people know that Greenville does.
We're setting an
Yes.
example.
Yes.
And when people complain, our little splinters complain, we don't do this or that, just look around in other counties. Greenville really does lead the way. That's what I like to do.
And why we do it is, number one, we want to do things right. We want to be transparent. If we do something wrong, there's a risk. We're so transparent, maybe we screw something up and they come in there and say, we're going to disorganize you because you screwed something up. That's why we're very careful about what we do. We learn the lessons. When we ask them, is it, we're going to do this. If you don't like what we're doing, let us know. And otherwise, we're going to do this. You got 30 days to let us know. Yes, Dave.
Trying to sit down and talk about it.
Yeah, and they never want to sit down, so then we end up doing it the way we said we were
All
doing
right,
it.
David, that's a question.
So on this rule change, delivered to the body by February 10th. By what method are you going to deliver it to the body?
Uh,
Always the same.
Everything.
Email, or whatever. Yeah.
Obviously,
Yeah, what we do is we post on the website, and
I mean, wouldn't it be best just to say on the website, by February 10th?
there's no requirement. Actually, the fact that we have a website is a bonus. There's no requirement. We don't want to tie the hands of people even more. We do it because we want to, but we may not be here. You're right about that. But we will. I will promise you, even if we're all gone, there will be at least one Liberty person on the executive committee, and they can, they'll get a copy of the budget. I know we're not going to. And it looks like we're not watching the Zoom meeting because I've got no notice from the SCGOP. It's so funny because we signed up. They don't send me the emails. They but we do a lot of training, right? And then apparently they don't. They got like 3 different trainings they were going to do, and obviously but they're like, oh, this is confidential by invite only and yada. I'm like, it's social media 101. What's so confidential about that you don't want other people involved in it? And apparently they don't want to send me the link to join it at 1 o'clock. Another example.
Sorry, I do have an update.
Oh, do you? Okay. You got a quick one? And
Yeah, it's not
whatever. And now that we got another few more minutes,
I'll just say it. I don't need to be on camera, but Austin is going to take over for the next meeting. Austin will be the secretary, and I'll be. I'm in Las Vegas on a conference, so I'll be there the entire week. So thank you, Austin. I appreciate it. Good luck.
This next week?
Yeah, next week I won't be here. And well, I thought about it, but I've got meetings during that time too. So it's
Vegas,
yeah,
baby.
Yeah. So
Also,
also,
it's not a meeting.
Happy hour meeting.
no, they put us for the conference. We're all in one hotel, and none of us are going anywhere. And it's not a gambling hotel. It's all just conference. So, but anyway.
They don't keep.
It's not like non-gambling.
There is a roller coaster. There's a show I watched, CSI Las Vegas, where when they show at the beginning, where I forget the guy's name that runs the CSI group, but he gets on that roller coaster. I want to get on that roller coaster. It's on the roof of some hotel.
The Stratosphere?
Yeah. So, anyway, if you hear about me dying because I fly off a roller coaster, and you know why I was there. Oh, by the way, the other thing is all the documents that are being collected by the secretary, we are vaulting that. So it's in 2 places in case the website, were to have a problem. We have the documents are vaulted. They're saved. And so that's
They're protected, right?
yeah, they're
We
protected.
also have an off-site backup if this entire place burned to the
Oh,
ground.
wow.
We have it.
Yeah.
Now you need to knock on wood, not that fake wood either. The whole place burns to the ground.
Well, and we might have 2 off-site backups. So.
Case Austin.
All right. The Parker Fire District. There's 2 things that are going on with the fire department. Number one, there's people that are talking about consolidating all the fire. Remember they did this a few years ago with the water thing. So it used to be fire and water, and then they sucked up into REWA, I think. It's kind of, not real sure how that's all working out because my bill for the water is about $70 a month. Every month. It is. It's a lot. It's like it turned into a car payment, for God's sakes. Yes, you take a lot of baths.
$31 a month, and we haven't changed anything.
When I lived,
$70 now.
that's what it's becoming. It's $70.
It's just 2 people.
Well, they take more baths than you.
Let's start sharing bath water.
Yeah, that's right. We're sharing bath water. You leave it in there, throw a little Clorox.
From 2 people to 6 people, and my bill only went up $10.
Just wait.
No.
Really?
That's since August.
Well, it takes a whole year for the council.
She's got a septic tank. I'm moving to Fountain Inn 1. Y'all are going to have a challenge for the EC at Fountain Inn 1 next year. It's going to be a battle royale. I will tell you my story of water bills is when I lived in Atlanta, they sent a water bill every other month because it wasn't even worth mailing a bill every month. I would write a check for $100 at the beginning of the year and not have to worry about it because it'd always be a credit. Now we're paying $70 a month. and it has grown, and that's way over inflation. It's way over inflation, and it's an additional tax, if you ask me. Yes. But what they're doing is talking about consolidating the fire departments, because we've got a whole bunch of different fire districts. I'll tell you, they're all different. They're all very confused to figure out. They got different election cycles, different number of people. It's really a bizarre situation. There's some positives of diversification like that. As conservatives, we're supposed to like diversification. As business people, we like consolidation. There's pros and cons. Greenville has one school district, and Spartanburg next door has 7. There's a lot of efficiencies in Greenville school district, but if you got a problem with them, it's not like you can move to the next district or deal with another. You're at the mercy of. I used to be a proponent of, why don't we have just a national police force? Holy cow! Did I not know what was going on? I mean, it's nice to have a sheriff and a city police and SLED and then the federal government. At least maybe I got a chance with one of those, like me, as opposed to them all having the arrangement. So, I mean, there is some, if you study the politics of that and all that kind of stuff. So it's a debate that's out there. I think we're going to be probably, we'll discuss it more on the side of maybe trying to find some efficiencies, but allow the independent, the groups. Now, there's a second issue.
I think the consolidation would happen by county council vote.
There's something with the county council, yes. So it's coming up, and some people are starting to stir the pot about it. And but there's another thing with the Parker Fire District. Parker is some of their tax base being taken away by the city of Greenville, because the city of Greenville, like they annexed on Cherrydale and all those business locations over there. Well, yes, if they get annexed into the city provides their fire and their police, and the city can do it more efficiently. So they come in and say, oh, let's, come join the city because we'll lower your bill from what you're paying now. Well, just wait. It will change over time. But it's hurting the Parker Fire District because they're losing that revenue. They've got enough fire machines and trucks and all that stuff to cover everything. And then somebody comes in and takes their tax base through the consolidation process or the annexation process. So, there's Parker. Some people have gotten text messages about it. Some people have gotten mailers about it. I messaged the folks on their. I don't know who's behind it. It looks like it's actually the fire department folks are doing it. I messaged them on their social media that whenever they get to the point that they would want us to get involved, let us know. So we've reached out to them, but like they have been sending mailers. When Gwen brought in a mailer that she received, there's no call to action yet. They're just saying, be aware of it. I assume they'll have a call to action later when it gets there. So
I got a suggestion.
Yes, sir.
I'll support the fire districts. I want to let the fire districts go away. Like for Parker, I want to support Parker, and I think Troy lives in Parker, and I feel the way that Cherrydale can come in, join the city, with the city boundaries with Cherrydale, join the city of Greenville, and then you look at annexation, not just taking the whole entire department away or any other fire departments. And for me, I live in one of the fire districts. I live next door neighbors. You got Can, South Greenville, and others. We don't want to see this happen. Taking away fire departments, is consolidating one. Like I was thinking yesterday that if you consolidate the fire district in a county, Green County, you'll take all the response. Get to what county? Northern County, Middle County, Eastern County, Western County, and Southern County. That you'll be a heck of a lot of weight.
Actually, it won't, because when you consolidate them under the one call, say 911 system, then you're not having, because this is from personal experience. I live in a farm district. We had a fire on my street. The firehouse is 4 blocks from the house. The fire. It took them 12 minutes to respond.
Really?
12 minutes. The house was completely engulfed by fire.
Oh my gosh.
House was destroyed in 12 minutes, and they're 4 blocks away. Why? Because someone dialed 911. 911 then had to figure out which district to call. and they had to, you consolidate that. One county controlled all the firehouses.
This is what the debate will be. He's on the consolidation thing.
They automatically respond to the firehouses
Right.
in that zone where the phone call came.
I'm kind of with you on the keep the government closed. That's a failure as opposed to
That's
a reason to consolidate. But we can have that debate. That debate is coming. We'll have it. People can have it. We'll see where we go. Hopefully, we all are friends afterwards. Hopefully, I don't think consolidation of the fire department will split people up.
Cooperation between the districts.
All right.
I got to say,
On the podcast or you afterwards? Okay.
Neil Collins is on Ways and Means and ethics.
Ethics, yes, we got that. You're absolutely right about that. I think he used to be on education, but when he got the opportunity to go to Ways and Means, he took it. So, yep. All right, we have a motion. Is it debatable? Can we? All right, we're out. We'll see you next week. See you tomorrow if you got more questions. Yes, 10 a.m. Here, you can do it on Zoom or you come here. It's on the group. I mean, it's on the email Olga sent yesterday, the email we sent.